All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back. Thank you for watching. Today we have yet another caliber that we have never had on the channel before. I feel like I say that quite a bit these days, but we're always trying new stuff, it seems. So it should be cool. And today we are finally going to be trying the 454 Casull. This is a caliber I have actually never fired in my life, even off camera. And from what I hear, it's a very powerful little round. So should be a fun one. And the part that I am definitely the most excited about, the revolver that we're gonna be using for today's video. The Ruger Super Red Hawk 454 Casull, also known as the Toklat. This has to be the most attractive revolver design I have ever seen in my life. I mean, look at that thing. Now, I'm not sure if it's pronounced Toklat, Toklat, I guess it doesn't really matter. You can let me know in the comments if you have more info. I believe it was named after a river in Alaska. So it is a 6-shot revolver, double single action, and it will shoot 454 Casull and 45 Colt, as you can probably see written on the cylinder there. And that's an aspect of revolvers that I still like over semi-autos. They can usually shoot multiple calibers because they don't have to cycle an action. So, like I said, as far as looks are concerned, I don't think I've ever seen a nicer looking revolver design in my life. I absolutely love this thing. And today, we're gonna use this beast to finally test the 454 Casull and see how powerful it is. So the 454 Casull was developed in the late 1950s, basically as an improvement slash enhancement on the 45 Colt. It does obviously use a slightly longer and structurally improved shell casing. This is the 454, this is the 45 Colt. You can see it is a little bit longer. It also uses a small rifle primer as opposed to a large handgun primer. Hopefully you can see the size difference there. And the reason for that is apparently because the pressure is so high in the 454 Casull that a large handgun primer could not contain that explosion. So they used a small rifle primer in hopes of keeping everything intact with such a high pressure round. Now the 454 is getting into hand cannon territory, so it's used for medium to large game, self-defense, bear defense, etc. Pretty much anything over a couple 100 pounds, the 454 would probably do the job. And from what I hear, it is often compared to calibers like a 460 Smith & Wesson and even the 500 Magnum. Apparently, that is how much recoil the 454 Casull produces. And again, I've never fired this caliber. Today we're gonna finally change that, and we'll see how powerful this hand cannon caliber actually is. Let's do it. All right, guys, here we go. Very first shots with the 454 Casull ever in my life. I don't really know what to expect. Is it gonna feel like a 357, 44 mag, 500 mag? I'm not sure. I will say I smashed the absolute shit out of my finger yesterday, and it's not doing well. So shooting a hand cannon the very next day probably wasn't a good idea, but no one's ever accused me of being smart. Let's see how this beast feels. We'll go for that green target first. Here we go. That is a hand cannon. I think we got 5 rounds in it, so we'll just go ahead and go through them. Man. That is a beast. There's no other way to put it. I would say it's not as painful as a 500. It's up there in terms of muzzle rise and the sound it produces. Very similar to a 460 Smith & Wesson, honestly. It's very comfortable to shoot. I could probably shoot it all day long, whereas a 500, I can't really do that. So I love it, to be honest. I think it's kind of like the perfect balance of as powerful of a hand cannon as you would ever need without just being unnecessarily violent on your hand. So 454 Casull, that is awesome. Now, like I said in the beginning of the video, one benefit of revolvers is you can shoot multiple calibers, and this one is chambered for 45 Colt and 454 Casull. So we have 3 different rounds I want to try. The first one is a 45 Colt cowboy load, I assume. Looks like a pretty standard round. The next one is a 45 Colt plus P, and from what I hear, these are pretty close to a 454. And then third, we will shoot an actual 454 Casull, and We'll see how they compare to each other. First up, we have the regular 45 Colt. This should be a pretty big step down in recoil. Oh yeah. That felt nice. Let's try the Plus P 45 Colt. I think that is more powerful than the 454 Casull. And the 454 Casull. That is extremely interesting. The trees are just raining debris all over us. Maybe I'll give that a second. So the 454 Casull is louder, and it does look like it produces a bigger muzzle blast, just feels like a little bit more energy, but I gotta say, the 45 Colt Plus P definitely has more recoil. Not sure if that's standard or if we just got like the world's hottest 45 Colts, but he did say those would feel a lot like the 454, and he was not lying. They actually have more recoil, which is interesting. So all three of our shell casings look good. Nothing looked like it was over pressured, but that 45 Colt was a surprise, I'll put it that way. So I went ahead and grabbed a couple more of these Plus P 45 Colts. I want to shoot these one more time because that is not what I was expecting. I think I got 4 of them in the cylinder. Dude, that is interesting. That's up there with the 500 Magnum. I would say more recoil than a 460, pretty dang close to a 500. That is crazy. Gosh. Man, I didn't think the 45 Colt Plus Ps would have more recoil than the 454s, but they definitely do. Okay, so looking at these two ammo boxes, I think I figured it out. The 45 Colt Plus P is a 335 grain hard cast solid, and the 454 Casull is a 250 grain jacketed hollow point. So the 45 Colt Plus P is almost 100 grains heavier than the 454 Casull, which would explain the recoil difference. But the 454 is going like hundreds of feet per second faster, which would also explain why it does sound and feel like it just has more horsepower. Doesn't have the muzzle flip and the snappiness of the Plus P 45 Colt, but it does feel like it's producing more energy on target. All right, guys, y'all know the drill. Anytime we get a new hand cannon, we gotta give it the watermelon test. We've got a 250 grain 454 Casull. It is a jacketed hollow point, and our watermelon is probably 7 yards away. Let's see what it does. Gosh. Well, I definitely thought I was at a safe distance to not get hit by watermelon, but apparently I was wrong. All right, guys, I think we have established that the 454 Casull is definitely a hand cannon, at least at the shooter's end. Now I want to try and test bullet performance and see how it actually does on target. So first up, we have a water test. I've got 8 1-gallon jugs of water lined up on the table here. I'm hoping this is enough. It could stop in 2 or 3. It could blow through all 8. And as I'm sure you all know, with a test like this, there's also an element of luck because bullets typically don't just go straight when they hit soft targets like this, especially when they're tumbling, expanding, and stuff like that. So we'll give it a shot and see how it goes. And same bullet, of course, the 250 grain jacketed hollow point. 8 water jugs. Wish me luck. Oh. Well, that sucked. I don't know why I thought I was in a safe spot. It honestly feels kind of good. My camera is soaked, and that is not a good thing, but it's hot out here, so I'm not mad at it. Okay, looks like we have 2-gallon water jugs on the ground, and the other 6 are still on the table. I assume those were the first 2 that we hit. I mean, that one is just absolutely demolished. That was probably water jug number 1. And then this one has significantly less damage on it, so I would say that was probably number 2. Then we have number 3 right here. Looks like it blew the cap off the top of it. Entrance and exit hole in number 3. Number 4, same thing. We got an entrance and an exit hole. Number 5, entrance hole there. It looks like the bullet is going a little bit low and left. And no exit hole on number 5. And I believe I see a bullet. Go ahead and take the cap off of it. And it's peeing a little bit. That one was actually still 90% full. There it is. Our fully expanded, fully intact 454 Casull. Man, that is a very large projectile when it's fully expanded like that. So it looks like it took 5 gallons of water to stop the 454 Casull, and it performed absolutely perfect. Also, now we know it definitely packs a lot of energy on target because I got covered in water probably 10 yards away. So the 454 is legit, no doubt about it. All right, guys, before we do our final test, I wanna go ahead and try the Plus P 45 Colt on our Premier Body Armor Bulletproof Fortis helmet. We've done a bunch of videos with these. By the way, there will be a link down below if you want one. I've shot them with pretty much every caliber. We even hit it with a 500 Magnum in our last video, and it stopped it, but that was not a hard cast bullet. And we are gonna use Ballistic Bob as our testing subject. I'm gonna try to hit it right there in that big open spot that's basically undamaged, and we'll see what happens. I still think the helmet will probably stop it, but it is a very powerful hard cast round. And I've never hit these helmets with anything quite like this before. So let's see what happens. And here it is, the Plus P 45 Colt hard cast bullet. We're probably 7 yards away, so pretty close. Let's see what it does. Well, on the high-speed camera, I could definitely see either a piece of the bullet or the entire bullet kind of deflect off that way. I would love to find it. Highly unlikely that we'll actually be able to, but here is one of the pads that was inside the helmet. It looks like it kind of fell out on impact. That might be one of the first times we've ever seen that. Usually the pads stay in there pretty good, but you know, to be fair, this helmet was already heavily compromised. So this is the impact zone. It looks like it blew that plastic piece off entirely. And our entrance hole is somewhere around there. Oh, I actually see the bullet still in the helmet. Not gonna be easy to get it out, but I'm sure you guys can see that as well. That is our bullet right there. So definitely stopped it. Go ahead and look at the back face deformation. Ugh. There it is. Definitely gave us a good little bulge. I would say not quite as bad as the 500 Magnum did that we shot a couple weeks ago, but that's a pretty good bulge compared to a lot of the others we've shot. I would say it's up there with the 44 Magnum, maybe even a little bit bigger. So one of the harder impacts we've ever had on these Premier Fortis helmets for sure. I'm gonna try to get this bullet out for you guys. Kevlar just absorbs bullet impacts and kind of tangles them up, but there it is. It actually smashed it quite a bit, surprisingly. So I imagine the piece that we saw go flying off the helmet was probably just that, a piece, and not the entire bullet, obviously, because most of it was stuck right there in the helmet. But it stopped it. Definitely not an impact I would want to take. Probably wouldn't feel good, but I think you would survive. All right, guys, the final test that I want to do with the 454 Casull is a ballistic shell test. Hopefully this one will give us the most information on how the bullet actually performs. So I've got two 10% clear ballistic shell blocks on the table. The first one is really the only one we're going to focus on because the second one is pretty dirty, very cloudy. It's got wound cavities in it. It's honestly just there in case the bullet over penetrates. So hopefully most of our damage is done in this first gel block. How effective is a 454 Casull and a soft target like ballistic shell? Let's find out. And for this one, I am gonna use the 250 grain 454 Casull jacketed hollow point. I think the 45 Colt hard cast bullet would probably just blow right through both gel blocks. So hopefully this one expands and we can actually see how it performs. See if we can put it in the middle of that first gel block. Yep. Well, it definitely looked like a pretty hard impact. Let's go check it out. Okay, our bullet went in right there. The sun is shining on it, so you can kind of see the wound cavity going into the gel block. Looks pretty cool. If we go over here, you can see the size of the wound cavity. It's not like unusually large, but definitely impressive. Did a good amount of damage for sure. Then probably 2/3 of the way down, the size of that wound cavity shrinks significantly. The bullet did pass all the way through the first gel block. And over here, our wound cavity actually looks a little bit bigger. And you can see probably 2 or 3 inches into the second gel block is where that bullet came to a stop. It does look like it's still intact, fully expanded, and performed pretty well. Probably 18 to 19 inches of penetration. And that's why calibers like the 454 Casull are so popular for large game and bear defense and stuff like that. With big threats, you have to get enough penetration to reach the vitals, obviously, and 19 inches is definitely enough. And there it is, our 250 grain 454 Casull jacketed hollow point. Literally perfect expansion. I mean, you couldn't ask for a better result than that. Picture perfect. Well, while we're out here, I guess I'll go ahead and try the hard cast bullet as well. I think I know what it's gonna do. It's probably just gonna punch right through, but let's go ahead and give it a shot. Try to put this one a little bit more to the right. God, that's a big recoil difference. Well, the high-speed footage was very cool on that one. It gave us a little bit more of a flash and just epic destruction inside that ballistic shell. You can see it like open up, slam back together. I can't imagine what that would do to something that was attacking you, but the end result was ultimately what I expected. So our hard cast bullet went in right there, just to the right of the first one that we shot. And from the side, you can see it does have a smaller wound cavity for sure in terms of diameter, and it penetrated all the way through the first gel block and all the way through the second gel block and exited out right there. So as I predicted, we were not able to stop that one. But I gotta say, although it's not a hollow point and it didn't stop in the gel, you could probably see on the slow-mo, the temporary wound cavity was extremely gnarly. And that would be like the perfect round for bear defense or something where you need a lot of penetration, because it just blew right through 32 inches of ballistic shell. All right, guys, there it is. The latest addition to our hand cannon arsenal, the 454 Casull. And I gotta say, man, after shooting this thing today, this is probably one of my all-time favorites. Like in terms of if I could only have one hand cannon for the rest of my life, the 454 would be on the short list for sure. It gives you all the benefits of the other massive handgun calibers, but it's still somewhat manageable to shoot, at least with the right ammo. I'm sure there's a big spectrum and some pretty powerful loads for the 454, but as you saw, it can literally shoot everything from like 45 Colt cowboy loads, which feel like a 380 basically, all the way up to the most powerful revolver loads I've ever shot. So this caliber can literally fill every requirement you would need from a handgun, from light target shooting all the way up to grizzly bear defense. There's not many handguns that can do that. So I love hand cannons, and the 454 is definitely near the top of the list. Plus, it just looks so badass. So I hope that y'all enjoyed the video. If you did, let me know down in the comments below. As always, hit that like button for me, guys. I would really appreciate it. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time.